So we've got Frozen Temple right now. Interesting map. I like it. I was surprised that TLO vetoed it as early as he did. I'm not entirely sure what that meant, but let's get into it.
We will be doing that, man. And honestly, I think it has to do with his preferred roach style. Like, I often see him doing one of two things. He's either going roaches, probably in the Ravagers, which we saw in that last game, or he likes heavy banglings. Heavy banglings early. And honestly, that's the build I'm really hoping to see out of him in one of these next two games, because I've seen it have a lot of potential against this 2-1-1. I don't remember who he was playing against, but I was watching some replays I found online, and he was trashing kids with early banelings against this and ling drops. But all those fancy things that like TLO is not only known for, but that I saw and that I felt were really, really strong against this 2-1-1 type play, we're not seeing it.
Well, let's see what he makes of it. The man we're discussing, he's at the bottom left of this map. It's Liquid's TLO.
Bottom left, could be bottom right.
Left.
You know, either way, Listexia, we all have it. Here on the top left-hand side, in the red Terran Drunks, he's one of only two players playing for Elevate StarCraft. It's MaSa.
Oh, I'm so happy that his name is back there, because every time on Europe I look down there, just in case I forgot who was playing, it wouldn't say MaSa. I go like, God damn it. I have to use my brain to remember. That's not what it's there for.
Dude, visual memory, man. I totally get it. I totally get it. Now, we do have a relatively faster third for TLO. This could open up an opportunity for TLO, because think about it. With MaSa's build, he's getting his Marines later, but he's getting more production, so he hits a timing at a reasonable time. He's getting the faster stem. But early on, he can't do that much aggression to punish this faster third. Great save on that drone there. The Reaper getting a little bit in there, but the Cliff's definitely giving him the advantage. Queen does pop out. That means bye-bye Reaper. Reaper not going to contest that Queen at all, ever. Oh, nice little dancing. I love fire dancing. Fire dancing Reapers. Fire dancing Reapers.
We've got MaSa in the meantime going for that 2-gas build, and he didn't go for the second barracks, but he's instead opted for an early factory, and he's going to be double pumping out. Well, that's most likely going to be Hellions, and there they are. We'll see how he follows that up with an extra tech lab on the barracks. I think we may see some Banshees as well. That could be quite the juicy game we've got on our hands here.
Yeah, dude, this is the first time we've seen Hellions out of MaSa pretty much ever. Like, in all the games I watched, he didn't do this. So this is right out of his secret little playbook. I guess he wanted to surprise us. Now, Reaper Hellion, definitely going a little bit of the old school meta. But guess what? This means he can punish this third base if the third base gets saturated. It's going to be really hard to both saturate this and get static defense and get the amount of queens he's going to need. He can't afford everything.
Hellions and Reapers both very, very good against light units. And drones, they're light units. Both these 5 units just cut through there like butter. Luckily, and nicely played by TLO, he saves 2 of those drones by transforming them into extractors, but does lose that 1 drone. Now, that's maybe good, but that's probably not what MaSa was hoping for. MaSa was hoping for a mineral line with a lot more of these juicy, juicy drones.
All right, guys, just heads up. Traffic, no more music. We've got some complaints coming in, guys. If you can give us more feedback, like, do you want the music lower? Do you want it off? But we're going to kill it temporarily. No more music until we have some feedback.
In the meantime, we've got TLO, who either saw this, no, he did not, or completely expected this to come in. He's got a Spore Crawler coming in right here as 2 Wither Mines burrow into the natural, while the Hellions swinging in again on the third.
Yeah, and these Hellions totally worth their weight in gold, man. Look at the 4 drones have been killed so far, and he's going to wedge himself right here into the natural. This is never usually a good idea, as it will mean the Hellions do die, but at what cost? We've had 12 drones killed so far, and I think that is totally worth 4 Hellions. The only thing he has to be concerned about is the fact that those Hellions are no longer out on the map. He has lost map control. What is TLO going to do? It looks like he's going to be moving out with roaches, which, well, the Hellion's already dead, so who cares, you know?
Well, I love that play there by MaSa, by the way. He moved in to that natural middle line. There was a queen in place there, and he threw that nice little bomb, that KDA charge. That queen was pushed away, and he was into that base and into that mineral line. Man, that was a nice play. That was a nice play. In the meantime, we've got a third base completed for MaSa, and he started on his 1-1. TLO, on the other hand, already has the first in defensive technology and or upgrade, and going for the 2-1. As we have yet another Liberator going into the third mineral line.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about the upgrade choice, because this is kind of panning out to be kind of the dead zone of the game where people are just building up, getting their infrastructure and whatnot. Let's talk about this +1 ranged, +2 armor. This is textbook Ultralisk type thing, where you're getting the armor for the Ultralisk to stay alive longer. The ranged attack, of course, going to be for the roaches, the Hydralisks, to really deal the damage, as they the Hydralisks in particular are glass cannons. How effective is that style in today's meta?
Oh, I have to say that I haven't seen it for quite a while, as TLO does make sure he's cleaning up several different attack paths. But so if you get Ultralisks, you have to make sure they're there for a couple of things, but mostly and primarily it's there to not die. So if you manage to put those in position and do get those glass cannons in the back there, it could do quite a bit of damage. And because it isn't
Liberator setting up right on top of a Spore Crawler, and it is going to get cleaned up Ravager shots. That is not how you spend your Liberator. But 2 more Medivacs swing in here to do a nice little drop marsh. I think that could do some damage in a little bit of time.
And TLO is moving his army out in the meantime, so those 2 drops are going to have a complete freedom to cancel and or kill this 4th hatchery. So very lucky for MaSa right there. On the other hand, is he going to have enough on his 3rd to fend off this Roach Ravager run by?
Yeah, there's really not a lot here. He was really relying on the production that he was just building and had to cancel to defend this 3rd. The tanks are in position, but they're not very far forward enough to defend that 3rd. Now, of course, that means the tanks are going to stop this Roach Ravager army from doing any serious damage, but there's nothing at home really to stop TLO or to help TLO from, well, actually, I say that, but the Spore Crawler totally wrecked some Medivacs. That was cool.
Yeah. That was MaSa once again shift-clicking his orders as he wasn't paying attention, as earlier his Liberator came in and now his Medivacs came in. If he'd unloaded a little bit earlier, he wouldn't have been over that Spore Crawler. The Queens would have not been able to have the freedom of movement that they had all the way in its base, and he would have come out of there quite a bit better than he has now.
And that's one thing I've noticed about MaSa in all of these games we've seen, is that he loves the aggression, he loves to trade, and actually, I'll come back to that. Roaches rolling into the 3rd base, and it looks like some good Ravager shots could be going off. Good clump of Marines here, no splitting just yet. Roach Ravager taking a lot of shelling from these tanks, and the tank's doing a really good job. Gonna go ahead and clean up probably the rest of this bio army. The SCVs going to fall quite a bit here, but the tanks surviving on the high ground. There has been a drop here at the 3rd base, and it looks like this 3rd base is going to be totally forfeit. Drones are going to come off the line, try to defend that a little bit, but the hatchery getting targeted. Looks like MaSa going to pull those units back, and there's a little bit of Roach and Ravager clumping here at the natural. These barracks doing a great job just really causing the Roach Ravagers to clump up for the tanks, and it looks like this drop is going to kill off that 3rd base. The Roach is not quite able to shoot up and kill everything. Marsh, can you tell me, dude, this is a lot of damage, but where do these players go from here?
That was a great start for TLO. He moved into that third base. Yeah, he took a lot of damage from the tanks, but he managed to push through, taking out, what was that, 20, 25 SCVs in the process. I was like, he has got this in the bag. In the meantime, there was a little blinking red light at the bottom of my mini-map saying like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And MaSa just completely equalized that score. As a matter of fact, he did one better because that orbital command is still alive and that hatchery is gone.
Exactly, man. Now, going back to my original thought here. Never mind. Roach Ravager. Yeah, going back to my original thought here. MaSa trades quite a bit. Now, he's hoping his opponent is going to mess up. So he's like got everything like queued up and he doesn't really pay attention. He sets it and he forgets it. Now, that has bit him in the butt quite a few times here, but it doesn't matter because every time he does it, he still manages to get a victory somewhere else. So he's kind of trading opportunity for negative opportunity. And it's working out for him so far, but if he cleaned that up just slightly, dude, this guy would be competing at the highest of highest levels. Anyways, a nice little marine drop coming in here. Roach Ravagers doing a good job defending that, going to knock these medevacs back, and some more Roach Ravagers swinging into the third base of the Terran. This Terran has a little bit of a vulnerable flank, going to do about a third of the HP of that orbital command, but some tanks being picked up to stop that from ever happening again, Marsh.
Yep, that was TLO doing exactly what you just described with MaSa moving in on one side, where TLO had units over there in defense while he moved and just threatened the third base of MaSa once again. So very good multi-prong harass on both players. They both controlled that quite well, I'd say, as MaSa tries to limit the information that TLO has by cleaning up. Oh, fungal.
Yeah, good fungal, not the best fungal. I really thought it was about to hit. That was like, but no, not quite. There's only enough fungal for one more fungal, so he's got to hit that fungal perfectly. However, with MaSa being so aggressive on this side of the map, TLO's got his army position there, and he could try to punish it. Tank's doing a great job at home. Now, MaSa, we had talked earlier about him liking the Widowmine version of this, which was Maru's version. Apparently, this is Byun's version. I like this version better. This defensive capability is really shutting down Liquid TLO. I guess maybe it's not necessarily, like, maybe it's more of a response to the Roach style as opposed to like this guy's style versus that guy's style. What do you think?
Well, roaches don't deal with tanks very well, so yeah, it may very well be that way. On the other hand, he did already have that tech lab set up right there, so it may have been a natural progression of this. What I'm really looking forward to is that combination of fungal growth on the infested that just entered the arena and Ravager shots. Man, that can completely, utterly wreck a Terran army. We talked a bit with TLO before this came live, and he said like, well, what are you working on these days? It's like, you know, BlizzCon maybe not entirely within reach, but what are you working on? He just said like, I want to play like Snoot is playing, and Snoot showcased that early on in the Legacy of the Void. If you get the fungals, if you get the Ravager shot, you will bust that Terran army completely, utterly down.
Speaking of Terran army, he does burst down that base of TLO, picks up no punishment whatsoever for getting that kill. Great job there by MaSa.
Yeah. And once again, we do actually have that Ultralist Cameron completing there, and he gets the first Ultralist there before the armor upgrade even gets started, as we have a lovely little pickup in the middle there.
And here we go, swinging in from the left-hand side. MaSa getting to the trench warfare, onto the creep, trying to kill off a little bit of the creep, trying not to get too far into the creep because of the roaches. Swinging down here, the Ravagers trying to get a good shot as well. The tanks doing a good job securing the flanks of MaSa. TLO having a hard time dealing with that with his roaches. However, tanks don't really move that fast. If you can get some Ravager shots there, that would be awesome. Fungal growth does go down, and some great Ravager shots there on the bio ball. Not enough kiting on that. The tanks very, very vulnerable here as this bio begins to fall, but there's a lot of Marauders left on the field. The medevac's doing a great job keeping them alive, and there we go. Reinforcements swinging in here for MaSa, doing a great job, and he's not even going to worry about the creep. He knows the space is forfeit. Pick up a little bit further back. He's going to swing that in. Oh, man, some hatchery. Hatchery does go down. There's a hatchery building on the far left, but he's not even worried about that Ultralist getting cleaned up as well. Marsh, this is so intense, man.
The TLO just needed just a little bit more time. If he'd had that army he had just now, an Ultralisk with chitinous plating, he would have owned that army of MaSa. But here he is with only the little tiny bit of his army playing against still
GG, man.
All by MaSa. GG.
Dude, it was all about that decision making, man, because think about it. If TLO had have pulled his army back, maybe just let that base die. I know that's unfortunate, but if he had let that die, had the Ultralisks there with the army he had already had, he might have had a chance. It wouldn't have been great, but he would have had a chance.
Yeah, man, he was so close to clinching that, but
yeah.
Oh man, that was just so. All right, sorry,
go MaSa, dude. And apparently, people in Star Sense are some fickle, finicky people because we are down to 41% voting. I think some of you guys might have changed your vote, but that's okay. Check out our sponsors, Star Sense, on your Droid phone.